Welcome to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. And now your host, Tim Johnson.
Republican candidate for governor Eddie Rispone joins us when we return on the Louisiana Business and Industry Show.
Consumers and property owners with construction projects can have a successful result or regretful experiences that could have been avoided. Before any construction project, verify licensure of the contractor and check references. Scammers will claim to be insured or bonded, so always check first. Download our app, LA Contractor, from the Android or Apple Store. Visit our website, lacontractor.org, or contact the Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors. We're here to help before things go wrong. Hire a licensed contractor. It's the law.
Spidell's Florist was founded over 30 years ago. From my mom's kitchen, we have grown into one of the largest florists in this area. There's a sense in our community that you stick together. Good times or bad. And oil and gas is part of that family. They're my neighbors. They're my customers. They're the person I'm sitting next to at church. If oil and gas is doing well, all of our businesses are doing well. We are Louisiana Oil and Gas.
Louisiana businesses, by partnering with your local community and technical college foundation, you're guaranteed a skilled, highly competent workforce. Homegrown talent, trained specifically to meet your needs, whatever those needs are. Visit this website to learn more about how to partner with your local Louisiana Community and Technical College Foundation. To better prepare for tomorrow, become a partner today.
Passion, experience, safety. These are what set Arkell Constructors apart as a premier general contractor. At Arkell Constructors, our goal is to exceed our clients' expectations, whether it's commercial, industrial, or facility maintenance. We have the team and processes in place to provide a solution for you. To us, every project is a resume for our future. Arkell Constructors, the solution for your next building project.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. Republican candidate for governor Eddie Rispone is our guest. Buddy, welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Tim. Good to see you, man.
Good to see you, too. We'll talk about it, but you and I go back 25 years. I've considered you for most of my professional career a mentor, Eddie, and I'm grateful for the influence you've had in my life, and we've got a lot to talk about. So let's
Hopefully
jump in.
It's all good,
It's
Tim.
all positive. It is. You know, you're a North Baton Rouge guy, grew up here. Redemptorist High School. Talk about your background and your education and what it has meant to you in terms of molding who you are today.
Well, I was fortunate to grow up in North Baton Rouge with a faith-filled family, blue collar. My dad worked at Standard Oil. There were 7 children. At one point, we had 6 of us in a house at one time. And it was a frame house, attic fan, 1 bathroom. I like to tell people my mother was a saint. She raised all of us. And we were very fortunate to have that. And knew from a very early age that if I wanted any spending money or transportation or whatever, I'd have to have a job. So my oldest brother, Sammy, who had moved out and got me my first job at working construction at 15 years old. So I've had a job every summer during high school and went on to college and had a job working construction and got my degree in construction and went on from there. I've been very, very fortunate. We had the School Sisters of Notre Dame. That was the teachers there at St. Jared, Magella, and also Redemptorist High School. So very fortunate to have that faith-filled education as well to go along with my faith-filled family. And today, my parents could not afford it, wouldn't have been for the School Sisters of Notre Dame. So I'm very grateful for them.
It's a background of hard work, a real work ethic instilled in you by your parents, but also, as you mentioned, a real important faith instilled in you by your parents. It still guides you today. Talk about the role that your faith plays in your decision-making, Eddie, and what it's meant to your career.
Well, twofold. One, in the decision-making, I would not be running for governor if it wouldn't be for my faith. You know, God has blessed me and my family, and Linda feels the same way as well. We're so blessed that you know, what he gives you a lot, he expects a lot from you.
Right.
So that's what kind of pushed me over the edge to do this. You know, other than I love Louisiana, I love the people of Louisiana. I want Louisiana to be successful. We can't be last in everything. We're not even average.
Right.
And, you know, we don't accept average.
Right.
in our business and our lives and athletics or whatever. And here we are last, and we just keep staying there. So that motivated me, but to make the final decision, it had to be my faith.
Right. I want to talk more about that decision to get into the governor's race, because that is a massive decision for anyone, particularly someone who has been successful in business, who is at a position in their life where they could retire and live comfortably. Yeah. But I want to investigate that a little bit more. But I want to talk a little bit now about your community involvement, because for all of the time I've known you, and I mentioned that's been about 25 years, you have been among the most engaged individuals I've ever known in terms of your community. And we've mentioned your church, workforce development, your commitment to education for those children in poverty and for all. The Associated Builders and Contractors, you were national president. Yeah. Talk about all of that community engagement and how critically important that's been for you.
You know, I think you grow up that way. I mean, if you grow up in a family where they do not take things for granted, and they understand that we all have to participate, whether it's community, family, work, church, school, organizations, our industry, I think we just grew up that way, and not being takers, but being a part of everything that makes things successful. In my case, it seemed like I would get to a point where someone had to take the lead, and you asked me to do that with one of the boards there, the Craft Workforce Development Board. And it just seemed like, when someone asks you to do that, someone has to take the lead. And just always felt comfortable doing that. And I felt like if you expect things to get better, you have to step up and be a part of it, and whether it's society or whatever.
I think one of the things that has marked your career, at least in my opinion, and I think others would say the same thing, is that you have a unique ability to set a priority and then focus resources to accomplish the goal. And, that sounds simple, Eddie, but there aren't a whole lot of folks who have the innate ability to make those kinds of things happen, to bring tremendous focus to a critical priority. You mentioned the Craft Workforce Development Board. We were faced in Louisiana with a situation where we had more industrial and commercial construction work than we had skilled craft professionals to build it. And you took on that challenge. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, we recognized that, and you brought it to our attention. You asked me to chair that. And what we did, we took all sectors of our construction industry, our users, and then we got all of the agencies that should be involved in that. And we worked on that for a year and came up with a solution, what each individual entity should be doing to improve workforce development, particularly in the crafts. And then we took that, and by the way, that was a real milestone in me understanding what needed to be done in our state in order to move forward, to find jobs, create jobs, but also to fill those jobs with Louisiana citizens. And we discovered that all the agencies didn't have that one thing in common, one goal. There was too many silos and weren't working together. So again, it just keeps building a foundation of why I feel like now I'm even qualified to be governor, because I learned so much, and that was the start of that process. But the other thing that you mentioned is that every time you get engaged in that, you bring in other talented people, and you build a relationship, and you learn, and you become better overall as well. So you learn to discern, you learn to stay focused, you learn to set a goal and accomplish something. And I really think that's what this state needs. You asked me earlier about why, but we'll get into that.
And we're going to get into all of that. I think that really is the focus for the Eddie Rispone for Governor campaign, your ability to focus and get things done. We'll take a break. We'll come back and talk a lot about that. We're visiting with Republican candidate for Governor Eddie Rispone. You're watching the Louisiana Business and Industry Show.
Since 1919, we've designed and constructed hundreds of industrial plants, roads, ships, dams, and executed some of the most complex jobs in the world. In fact, our quality and dependability are legendary. Today, the legend continues as Brown & Root delivers engineering, construction, maintenance, and industrial specialty services throughout the U.S. and the world from our headquarters here in Louisiana. We are Brown & Root.
ExxonMobil Baton Rouge keeps the local economy rolling. Our new aviation project created hundreds of jobs, drove millions of dollars to local businesses, and poured thousands more into our community to improve schools. 1 in 8 jobs in our parish can be traced back to ExxonMobil. Tomorrow's Baton Rouge is built by what we do today. A little energy goes a long way. ExxonMobil Baton Rouge. Energy lives here.
The 1012 Industry Report is excited to announce the 1012 Industry Weekly. This e-newsletter is free and comes to your inbox every Tuesday. All you have to do is sign up at 1012industryreport.com. 1012 Industry Report is an award-winning magazine serving South Louisiana's petrochemical and oil and gas industries. From Lake Charles to Baton Rouge and New Orleans, we cover the news, people, projects, and issues that matter to industry. The 1012 Industry Report magazine and weekly email. Sign up today.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. Republican candidate for Governor Eddie Rispone is our guest. We talked, I guess, around this a little bit, Eddie, in the first segment, but making the final decision to jump into a race for governor in a place like Louisiana requires a lot. It requires faith, and you said that that was among the leading elements of your decision. It requires a family being bought in. Walk us through the process that took Eddie Rispone from being a successful, comfortable businessman with kids and grandchildren that you could have enjoyed for the rest of your life to making a decision to say, we can do better and I can lead us.
Yeah. Well, to start with, I do intend to enjoy my children and grandchildren the rest of my life. But it really started with, we've tried to turn the state around. And John Bell Edwards has really actually turned in the other direction, even worse. I don't know how you get worse than 50th. And so it got to the point that I was waking up in the middle of the night debating John Bell Edwards and couldn't sleep. And so I kept looking for that candidate, someone that's an outsider, someone that's a conservative, someone that's has serious business skills, someone that could turn the state around, someone that's not beholden to special interests, and just could not find that candidate. And again, like in previous organization, whatever, when you don't find leadership, what do? You volunteer yourself. So I looked at that, and I went to Linda, and I said, what do you think about me running for governor? And Tim, it didn't go over too good.
I can understand.
She and I tell people, I can't really tell you exactly what she said. It wasn't ugly, but it was pretty direct. And she reminded me that I was in my 60s, late 60s, and had 23 grandchildren, you know. So I went back and started looking again. And really could not find that person. I really looked at everyone. And it got to the point that even when we were with our grandchildren, we have 24 beautiful grandchildren, and we'd like to say they're perfect, and they are, in our eyes anyway. It got to the point where we'd go to functions, and particularly Grandparents' Day one time. I was sitting there, and we have 6 grandchildren at one of the local schools, and I become somber. I'm looking at these children, they have grandparents doting over them, they have parents that love them, they're getting a good education, and God is saying, what about my 130,000 that are D&F schools? What about their future, Eddie? And so it really started affecting me. It
was emotional for you.
It was very emotional. And I got to the point where, you know, I said, this is not going to work. So I went back to Linda, and I said, you know, I explained that to her. And I said, would you mind praying on it? And she did, and she came back to me about 2 months later and said, okay. From that point on, peace came over both of us. And so that's really how the process did. That's why I say my faith played a big part in it. It started with the love of our people and our Louisiana and the direction we're going with. You know, Thad is a perfect example as Dad said, Dad,
yeah.
We're last. You know us, we're competitive in business and life and everything else in sports. We wouldn't even like to be average.
Right.
And here we are last. So there's a point that that was the point to first ask of Linda. And then the second ask really got to the point where I would be somber around my grandchildren when I'm full of love and gratitude for every blessing we have. And so That's kind of what pushed me over the edge.
That concern for the future of the children of our state, really the driving force in what pushed you into that decision. Eddie, I say it on this television show and on our radio show almost on a weekly basis, and I've talked about this for years and years and years. If you look at what occurs naturally in Louisiana, the culture, the people, the work ethic, the natural resources, the fact that so much of the nation's energy supply comes through or is produced right here, the Gulf of Mexico and access to economies all over the world, the petrochemical industry and all the science and technology that it brings us. Two of the most historically black universities in the country, LSU. We sit at at the mouth of the greatest economic transportation artery in the world, the Mississippi River. Why could we settle for being last? Why isn't top 5 in America our goal in everything we do? And we could get there if we have the right leadership. What makes you today uniquely qualified to move us up those rankings?
Well, I tell you, it starts with how I grew up. Grew up understanding how to work and ethics and stay focused, not afraid to take on challenges. And then being an entrepreneur for over 40 years, you don't look at failure. You just go for it and you make it happen. But the skill set that you develop over those years makes a huge difference. And being involved with job creation, being just in our company alone, we have over 3,000 families. And over those years, we have trained thousands of people. So you understand the education process. You understand the training.
You've seen it produce a better life.
And I've been involved with, you mentioned several things, but I've been involved with every sector of the economy, the jobs that they create. And so you have a business person who understands job creation, how to work with job creators. And on the other side, you understand how to fill those jobs with Louisiana citizens through education, vocational training, and 4 universities. So there's no one ever been that uniquely qualified to do it. The issue is getting someone like that to be willing to do it.
Right.
And in this case, you have to not only have all these talents, to be conservative, a serious business person, not be holding special interests, and being able to have the backbone to challenge the status quo. Don't accept it. But you got to have some wherewithal to go up against an incumbent with all this money coming from the special interests. Just look what Trump did. Trump had to fund it. We have other governors around this country that have done the same thing. Business people who had enough finally got engaged and turned their states around. But you didn't hear about it from the press. When Trump got in there, now people are starting to hear about it and start to recognize it. And it's time to do that. And the reception around the state has been remarkable.
When you think about the fact that you're an outsider, not beholden to those special interests, you've got the experience, the success, the temperament. It's all coming together to make things right. We're going to take a break. I want to come back and talk about specific issues that you want to focus on when you're elected governor. We're visiting with Republican candidate for governor, Eddie Rispone. You're watching the Louisiana Business and Industry Show.
I just see the positive things on the horizon, and BRAC is a real integral part of that.
BRAC's taken a very forward role in trying to help align people and align strategies and align solutions.
You'll find that you'll have an opportunity at BRAC to make a difference.
It's about being a part of conversations and really having a voice in terms of how we move the city forward.
A lot of my friends were in college and stuff, which is great. It wasn't the route for me, and financially, I know it's tough on a lot of people, so I saw welding. At first, my instinct was like, what pays the most money? So I was like, welding, that's the way to go. It made a great living for me and my family. You can always work your way up. There's multiple ladders. And really the sky's the limit. I thought I got to the max with as high as I can go with welding. As high as you want to grow, you can absolutely achieve it.
promoting workplace safety and family wellness. That's our motto at Gulf Coast Occupational Medicine. The Gulf Coast staff is made up of some of the most knowledgeable and hardest working medical professionals in Louisiana. We care about your safety and your bottom line. With 8 convenient locations in the greater Baton Rouge area, our services include injury management, physical exams, medical surveillance, and substance abuse testing. For more information, visit us on the web at gcombr.info and ride the wave to safety.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. Republican candidate for governor Eddie Rispone is my guest. We talked about the potential that this state has. We've talked about why you are uniquely qualified to lead us toward that potential today. But there are real issues in this state, Eddie, that we have struggled with for years. And when you talk about being on the bottom of all those good lists, when our potential is and should be top 5 in America in everything we do, let's focus on specifics. From your perspective, what are the 2 or 3 most pressing issues facing Louisiana, and how do you intend to reform them?
I would say this: the approach I'm going to take, you can't. We're going to do a lot of things, but we're going to go and attack the budgets. You know, as a business person, as with different skill set, we're going to go out and recruit people over these agencies that are talented, not political cronies. And we're going to put them over these agencies, and they're going to go to work in these agencies and with budgets and review, and we're going to go with a zero-based budgeting, something that we do in our personal lives and business, and go into these agencies and find out where every dollar spent, is it being spent wisely, and then I'm going to stay involved. And that's what the governor does. He picks these individuals, goes recruit them. And so good people will want to come to work for a governor like me because they can accomplish something. They're not going to be just the political cronies that appointed those things. The other thing is lawsuit abuse. We all know it's costing us millions and millions of dollars. The core insurance was second in the country. It's killing the middle and low income families. They got to make decisions on necessary things, much less getting to work and not getting back to work. So we're going to attack that. You can work them down the highways and you can see what's going on there. The other side of that is killing thousands of jobs in the oil and gas industry. Literally thousands. I've been told that not just the thousands of jobs, but hundreds of millions of dollars in tax revenues are not coming into the Treasury because we're not getting the oil and gas out of the ground. So that's another area that we're going to attack, that lawsuit abuse. And then the next thing is taxes. We have to make Louisiana competitive with other states, Tim. We have to do that. And the only way I see doing that is some type of limited constitutional convention where we can address it all at one time. And then the last thing, which you know I'm very adamant about, is vocational training. We are going to go work with the job creators, create the jobs, and then we're going to fill those jobs with Louisiana citizens. You and I know that 50% of the jobs in Louisiana as well as around the country, Mike Rowe has been going around the country explaining this to them, require post-secondary education and training. 50%. We have to do something different. We have to give our young people these options to fill these jobs. The jobs are going unfilled. And so those are some areas that I'm going to concentrate on, obviously.
We got a lot to unpack there, and I want to talk specifics on some of them with about 4 minutes that we have left in the show. You mentioned lawsuit abuse, and you mentioned specifically the oil and gas industry. I have spoken to oil and gas leaders in the state of Texas, and when you look at the comparison of exploration and production that is going on in the state of Texas as compared to what goes on here in Louisiana, it is astounding. They don't have better geology than us. They don't have necessarily more oil than us, but they've got a different climate. When the governor of your state says, if you don't sue these oil and gas companies, the state will sue them on your behalf, it has had a chilling effect. Now, I don't know what Governor Edwards' intentions are around, fixing some of the problems on our coast, but I think that we can have better solutions if we have all of the parties engaged than if we say we're suing you because you did what we asked you to do and what we permitted you to do from the very beginning. Right. Talk about that specifically, Eddie.
Well, let's start with that. The Department of Natural Resources should be handling that, not a bunch of plaintiff attorneys working on a contingency fee.
Period.
Yeah. I mean, why the governor just turned it over to his trial lawyer friend and say, hey, go get it. Implement the laws that we have. That's not how you do it. That drives everything crazy. And then to tell parishes, oh, you have to sue or I'll sue, That's not what needs to be done. You got a Department of Natural Resources, let's go fix it. You said it earlier. If they did the permits properly, fine. If they didn't, then we'll enforce it.
I want to talk about specifically a little bit about education and workforce development. I have watched you over the years, and we've talked a lot about your engagement in workforce development. But I don't think many people know about your commitment to education in this state, particularly the education of the less fortunate. Give us a big picture overview of the Department of Education under Eddie Rispone.
Well, it's very simple. We're going to put the children first. That's a simple process. The decisions we make, just like the decisions in government, we're going to put the citizens first, not the special interests. We're going to do the same thing when it comes to education. We're going to put the children first. And if you stay focused on that, everything will happen. We have to improve education overall. And my deal has been that I want to save as many lives as I possibly can. The children that didn't have a choice or where to go to school, we want to help them get an education. Every child should have a quality education. We need to do everything we can to give them that opportunity.
That won't just be Eddie Rispone's commitment as governor. That has been Eddie Rispone's commitment as an engaged citizen for a long, long time. We got about a minute left. I want to ask you this question. You've been on the campaign trail. I know what that's like in a more limited sense. You've been out there all across this state, from North Louisiana to South. What's the most important thing you've learned about yourself, and what's the most important thing you've learned about the people of Louisiana?
Well, let's start with the people of Louisiana. What I've learned is that they're excited about having an outsider conservative, a businessman. They really are. I mean, I hear that over and over and over again. Someone is not beholden to special interests. So that's been encouraging to me and actually motivates me to keep going. So that's been a very positive thing. The other thing is that they're in a panic mode in some cases. They really are. They're concerned that if we keep going down this path, that their children and some of them are going to be moving out of this state. And we had 2 meetings yesterday, and they came across, I mean, people are standing up and said they are sincerely concerned about the future of this state.
I know your heart. I know your commitment. I know your focus. Eddie Rispone, thanks for your time, man. Good luck on the campaign trail.
Appreciate it.
That's a wrap, guys. Thanks for joining us. Join us again next week at this very same time for another edition of the Louisiana Business and Industry Show.